YouTube. It's your guy, Not Your Average Trucker, coming to you on a Thursday, January the 23rd. Just wanted to touch on whether or not it's important to keep up with fuel receipts. That seems to be a common question I get. And that's in regards to, like IFTA. I was in a situation last year where I actually got an IFTA audit by the state of North Carolina. And basically with an IFTA audit, they, in North Carolina, that's all I can speak on at least. They select 3 years of your operating time, and during those 3 years, they randomly select multiple quarters, to decide whether or not, you're being honorable. Because what happens is, it's a lot of silly people out here. Again, I can only speak to North Carolina. In North Carolina, you can file your IFTA online. So basically, when you're filing your IFTA, what they're looking for is the miles you ran in each state, the gallons of fuel you purchase in each state, and they tax you on that. You understand? So it's a lot of people out here that'll play with the numbers to lower their tax liability. And some people out here that play with the numbers and end up getting a refund on their IFTA. So in North Carolina, they're trying to crack down on that because it's a lot of basically IFTA tax fraud out here. So, that's what it is. Like I said, I ended up getting audited last year. During the process of the audit, like I said, they chose, it was 3 years, and they randomly selected a quarter from each year. So it might be quarter one of, 2015, quarter 4 of 2015, then quarter 2 of 2016, blah, blah, blah. So, each quarter is 3 months. And, basically what they do is they want to verify every mile that your truck drove, as well as every gallon that your truck purchased. So if you're like me, I don't really care too much about fuel receipts, because every time my driver uses my fuel card, at midnight every night, it sends over a manifest that shows all the purchases, each truck number, the mileage, how many gallons they purchased, where the hell they purchased it at. So that's basically a receipt for me. So I don't actually need a hard copy of the receipt. And then the main issue that a lot of people run into is keeping up with the mileage. Because, a lot of us have some form of accounting software, so we keep up with our fuel purchases. Some people are old school and actually have the receipts. But the problem comes in when, especially when you're a fleet owner such as myself, when you got lazy drivers that don't always enter the mileage in. So, some of you drivers are in such a hurry, to pump fuel that, when the prompt comes up that says odometer, they just type in, just make up something just to keep it moving to the next prompt. And I had that problem with a couple of my drivers. So it just so happens that some of the quarters that they picked had a few transactions like that, to where the the person doing the audit, mind you, this is the IRS that's doing the audit. It's just the fuel tax division. You understand? So depending upon how this audit go, you could end up with a revenue audit from the state. You understand? But anyway, so it was a lot of those where the driver on the manifest for the fuel receipts, the driver didn't enter in the actual correct mileage. And so what they do in that case is they want to see the load that the driver did, during that trip, to go back to prove where they went, right? So we had electronic logs, so they want to see basically the paper trail of where the hell my truck was during this day, since the mileage wasn't entered on the freaking, the mileage that's entered on the fuel receipt didn't make sense. So if they looking at that and your trip don't make sense, the next thing we're going to do is look at your log to make sure that the log makes sense. Because you have situations sometimes, like in my accounting software, I enter the pickup city, the delivery city, But it might be a situation where between point A and point B, the driver pulled over for the night, whether he went home or whether he on the road and he stopped at a truck stop. That might have been a couple miles out of route. So your PC mile, software might not have, what they calculated for the miles might not be what your truck actually did. And that's the thing. That's what that auditor is looking for. Your auditor is looking for every freaking mile. Like every mile. Like it don't make sense. It's not, hey, as long as you within 5 miles or within 10 miles, you good. Nah, they was looking for within every mile to make sure that it all added up to what my actual, when I filed my IFTA for that particular quarter, they basically verifying that everything that I said was true. So, like I said, I was audited last year, had to get him, and that's the thing that pissed me off, because I'm telling them, look, man, all my stuff is digital, you understand? I could email you over, or, because I showed up with a briefcase, because you got the choice. You can either let them come to your place of business, or you can go to them, you understand? And I chose to go to them, because I figured it'll be, I ain't want them snooping and noticing things that they need to notice, and I was trying not to trigger, a regular audit, you understand, an income audit. But anyway, that's a story for another day. So I go meet with the lady in her office. I'm bringing, my laptop, my briefcase because she wanted hard copies of everything, but I also had, thumb drives with all my files in PDF form, because it seemed like that would be more thorough. But it's at the time they're worried about, hey, we plug this thumb drive into our laptop, and you freaking corrupt our laptop. Like they worried about outside sources giving them viruses or whatever. So anyway, I had to show up with stacks of paper with all the trips for those random quarters for a course of 3 years. Mind you, I had 11 trucks. Everybody's doing something every day, so I got stacks and stacks with just loads. Stacks of paper full of fuel purchases, and stacks of paper with the breakdown of all the driver logs for them, same quarters. It was just a freaking headache, man. And, mind you, going through it, common sense tell you that they're not going to have a verdict or information already that day, because who the hell can go through that much, paperwork in one day? So I gave her all my paperwork, I want to say, in like April or something like that. And I didn't get a final verdict for my audit. It was about 3 months later, man. So we talking maybe July or August. Because I went in the spring and I didn't get the results till the summer. And needless to say, the only, little issues they found was discrepancies with drivers not putting in the correct odometer readings, you understand? So she was having to go through and physically look at all the miles from the breakdown on the ELDs to verify mileage. And I had one driver in particular, this is a local guy that's home every day, but the way it was in the system, when she going over the loads, he might have a load that picked up in South Carolina somewhere, like Rock Hill, South Carolina, which is right outside of Charlotte, and it was delivering somewhere in North Carolina. So the guy would pick the load up, then he would go home, you understand? So the problem was, it was basically because he would bring the trailer to the yard and then bobtail with the truck back, closer to his house. So that mileage wasn't being accounted for. So anyway, I ended up with a fine of like a couple $100 just because of discrepancies with miles. But in terms of all my fuel purchases, and for the most part the mileage that we had in each state, it was all accurate, you know what I mean? But it's a lot of guys out here who fail based off that. They either out here paying cash for fuel, so they don't have proof that they bought fuel, which in one hand you would think would help you in a way, because you ain't got to claim everything. But the guys that I know that have had problems with IFTA, it's all based on their accounting, their ways of keeping up with paperwork, their ways of keeping up with fuel purchases and mileage. Because you still got some guys with small fleets or one truck and an older truck that don't have to have a digital freaking log, an electronic log, so they're doing all paper logs. And some of those guys don't take the time to put their mileage in from, start of their day to the end of their day, and that's where you can run into an issue. But for those out there that always ask me, man, how important is it to save your receipts? Your receipt in itself isn't important, but you do need some way of keeping up with it. So I tell you all the time, I use truckingoffice.com. I ain't getting paid by them. I ain't no sponsor, no damn, influencer, none of that. But that's what I've been using forever, is because you can put in anything trucking related into that software, and it keeps it for you forever. You ain't got to think about it. It even, when it's time for me to do my IFTA, I just click one button, and it knows what month you're already in and what day you're at. So as soon as you go to click IFTA, it knows what quarter to show you anyway, and that way I don't have to keep up. So it's like every day when I get that manifest and I key in all the fuel purchases that my drivers made, I'm putting that into truckingoffice.com, and it's keeping up with all that for me. Likewise, my fuel card emails me that PDF every day of all the purchases. Plus, at any time, I can log onto my fuel cards website and see all the purchases for a given quarter. So the main thing, if you're worried about IFTA or running a business in and of itself, the hell is this calling me? The main thing is just, like I tell you all the time, be organized. Y'all pardon me. Anyway, but like I said, the main thing in business anyway is to just be organized. So if you're worried about audits, whether it's income audits, or you're worried about fuel tax audits, or any other type of audit, just remain organized, man, and then that, helps relieve a lot of stress, relieve a lot of problems. But the main thing is keeping track of your mileage, man. Every day, your log is doing that for you because it's connected to your computer and it knows that. But for you guys that don't have logs, or you guys that's out here riding dirty, the main thing they're going to look at is mileage and making sure that all the mileage makes sense. You understand? But it's your guy, not your average trucker, coming to you, like I said, January 23rd, 2020. Out here waiting in this dock, man, trying to get loaded so I can get the hell out of here. Everybody out there, be easy. Trucker Not Your Average Gmail, Trucker Not Your Average on Instagram. Holla at your boy.